TheWarthatChanged.
Morning cuts my sleep short yet again. I try to yawn myself awake, but to no avail. Between me and a productive day are my jealous and enticingly warm blankets. No matter how much I try to get up, they convince me to stay down. Yesterday was eventful. I regret getting into an altercation with Frederick. It should never have happened. Even though his comments were out of line, angering him further only complicates matters. Frederick was the reason I received the research grant, so making him angry puts our funding at risk. There's a clear pecking order in the world, and I violated that. If Frederick wants to, he can easily get back at me. But would he? That Frederick isn't actually interested in my research means that he has other reasons for supporting this project. I think I might have an idea what those reasons are, which brings me to the bigger problem. Since the fight with Frederick, Elise has become spiritless. She seems drained, like a mage without mana. Poor girl. As a result, after that little incident, we weren't able to make any progress with the research. Her magic returned to being completely ineffective, like in the laboratory. The piano even stopped sounding its mysterious note. If she can't find her rhythm again, it'll be seriously bad for me. We haven't produced enough data yet to create a thesis. We have to get her back to normal somehow. My head hurts. I spent all night thinking about this, and I'm not getting anywhere. I need to refresh myself. I spring up from bed, take a shower, and get dressed for school. I find Elise and Aretha waiting for me outside.
Greetings, Franz.
Aretha is energetic, as usual.
Good morning, Franz. Are you ready to get started? I am.
Unexpectedly, but not unwelcomely, Elise is also full of energy. Maybe Aretha's liveliness has rubbed off on her. Yeah, definitely. Let's do our best, Elise.
Okay.
As I'm speaking with Elise, I notice Aretha inspecting my face closely. So I ask her, "What is it? You're gonna make me blush if you keep staring."
Nothing. It's just there are bags under your eyes.
Oh, I stayed up really late.
Huh? What were you doing all night?
Nothing, just...
Oh my gosh, did you have a girl stay the night again?
Huh? No.
Franz is a beast! You're unbelievable, Franz! Are Elise and I not good enough for you?
Hey. Aretha pulls Elise away and drags her to the omnibus stop with an exaggerated gait, as if each step were a stomp.
Elise, be careful. Franz is a sexual predator. If you stand too close to him, you might get pregnant.
What? Is that possible?
Elise's eyes are wide open, more in awe than horror.
Yes.
That's a frightening magic spell.
There are no spells like that! I hope Aretha hasn't been putting all sorts of weird thoughts into Elise's head. I spend half the morning commute explaining to Elise that there are, in fact, no magic spells that could make a girl pregnant.
Oh, so that's how it is. I thought it was something you learned in magical science.
What part of it sounded like science to you?
But it's magical science. You're supposed to know spells that ordinary magicians don't.
No. Magical science is not about learning spells.
It's not? Then why do you go to a magic school?
How do I explain this? Elise is hardly the only person to have this misconception about magical science. Many students go into magical science hoping to learn how to cast high-level magic spells or to learn secret techniques to make their magic stronger. But really, magical science is mostly math and theory. Vocational schools are better for students who are only interested in using magic. Magical science is about spellcasting as much as archaeology is about digging.
Elise, you're misunderstanding something.
Finally, Aretha comes to my rescue. She's usually better at explaining things to people without scientific or engineering background.
Franz's ability to make a girl pregnant with the sheer power of mind is not a magic spell. It's his superpower.
Franz! Is this a power you have to try to use, or does it happen accidentally?
I spend the rest of my morning commute explaining to Elise that I don't, in fact, possess a superpower of any kind.
Franz?
Yes?
Can you help me with something?
What is it?
I assembled a magic machine prototype in one of the empty rooms in the east building yesterday. Now I have to move it to my classroom. The prototype is pretty big, so I need someone who can cast levitation.
The levitation spell, like all other spells that control air, is based on faith. So basically, she needs someone who is gifted in faith. I don't mind helping Aretha, but after what happened yesterday at the factory, I was hoping to start work with Elise as soon as possible.
Well, I can find somebody else to help me if you don't have the time.
I'm sorry I don't have time. I'm sorry, Aretha. I need to get to work on the experiment as soon as possible.
I understand, don't worry. I can find someone else to help me. See you later, Franz, Elise.
See you later, Aretha.
Aretha parts as I silently wave my goodbye. So, let's get going. Elise takes a few steps back, hugging her chest. What? Elise, superpowers aren't real.
I know. Let's go.
I knew it. Aretha was a bad influence.
Mr. Byron and Miss Shelley, good morning.
Good morning, Professor.
Good morning, Professor Poe.
After the exchange of greetings with Professor Poe, Elise and I begin preparing the experiment right away. Elise gulps down a bottle of mana potion while I'm setting up a number of measuring tools and other lab equipment. Are you ready?
Yeah.
A kindly, compassionate aura radiates from Elise, her eyes fixed on shattered pieces of window glass lying on the desk in front of her.
Amplify.
The glass is still in pieces. I didn't feel anything abnormal when she cast her magic. All readings from the measuring tools show a regular revive spell. Let's try again.
Okay. Amplify. 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 Oh.
I wonder why it felt different yesterday.
You mean when I tried it on the piano?
Yes. Elise peers at the shards of glass, studying them. She picks up a shard, brings it closer in front of her eyes, pokes a finger at it, puts it back down on the desk, and finally, shakes her head in resignation. Hey, why don't you try casting your spell on me?
Huh? What spell?
The usual. Revive.
Huh? But Revive is a spell for healing life-threatening injury.
She knits her brows and, after thinking for a second, stares at me sharply.
Maybe I can stab you first.
No! Professor Poe glances at us, half suppressing a laugh. And I just want to try feeling your magic directly with my own body. It doesn't have to heal a real injury.
You want to feel my magic with your body? Franz, I'm just 15.
It's not like that. You and Aretha will be the death of me, you know? This is for science.
Well, if it is for science, then anything is okay.
I wonder whether to comment on such unsound logic, but decide against it. Okay, lay it on me. I stand in front of Elise and take a deep breath. She lightly puts her index finger on my chest with her eyes closed.
Amplify.
At the moment the spell is cast, I feel something like a gentle breeze, but without the air movement, lightly cooling my whole body from my skin to my internal organs, leaving a peculiar but not unpleasant tingling sensation.
How was it?
It felt like any other healing magic. Let's try it again.
Okay.
She touches my chest again with her index finger.
Amplify.
Still the same. Try doing it differently.
What do you mean by differently?
I don't know. Just try anything.
Okay. Amplify.
Not good enough. Think about something else. Imagine that your magic had evolved into something unique. Something original.
Okay. Amplify.
Still no good. Try something different.
Different. Got it. I'll try it.
Elise accumulates her mana again and... What? This aura, what is this? This is not the normal compassion aura. There is something different about this compassion that I've never felt before. Like there's a lot of determination in it. There's fortitude. From the spot where her finger touches my chest through the thin fabric of my shirt, I feel a certain kind of warmth spreading to my whole body. It's a wholly different sensation from the cool breeze I felt before. In a few seconds, the warmth starts broiling. The temperature rises up. My body feels a burning sensation. Huh.
Summon!
My body combusts in a blaze. Ah! Hot!
Franz, you're on fire!
Summon! With the speed of panic, I cast water to douse the fire. My clothes are completely drenched and dripping water to the floor. Now that I think about it, I could have cast wind to blow out the flames without soaking myself.
Franz.
I thought your compassion aura was different. It didn't occur to me that it felt a lot like courage.
You told me to do something different, so I unconsciously, I swear it wasn't intentional. Honest.
It seems our young assistant is a little too eager. Don't worry, Franz can take a little beating every now and then.
Professor, I want to bring Elise to the factory again. Yesterday we couldn't record any data because I left all the instruments here.
Do what you must, young scholar. You need not ask permission.
Thanks, Professor. Let's go, Elise.
Okay.
Would you do me a favor?
Sure, Professor. What can I do for you? The professor hands me a paper on which he had been writing until a minute ago.
On your way, please deliver this to Joff Godwin.
I examine the paper. It has my handwriting on it, with some corrections by Professor Poe, and his signature at the bottom. Isn't this the budget plan I made a few days ago?
Yes, Joff wanted to know how the research fund would be used.
I see. I'll stop by the Lord's mansion on my way home from the factory.
Please do.
With Elise's help, I take some measuring tools, though we still can't carry the big ones, and leave the laboratory. Before going to the factory, I dry myself in the courtyard using wind, and we have a quick lunch together in the cafeteria. Then, we set out. Once we've arrived, we immediately head to the piano and start preparing for the experiment. This time, we have some equipment from the lab, so we'll be able to measure the data more precisely. Elise stands next to the piano, same as yesterday, and casts her spell.
Amplify.
That feeling occurs on the first try. The strange, mistaken belief that suddenly arises in my mind, where I'm convinced, utterly convinced for a moment, that the piano has been fixed. But of course, it hasn't. The readings from the measuring tools show abnormality, but nothing that I can make sense of. I take note of the numbers for later analysis. I urge Elise to keep going.
Amplify.
There is that bizarre feeling again. No matter how many times I felt it, no matter how certain I am that the piano will remain broken, for that instant when the magic is cast, I am positive, without a sliver of doubt, that the piano had made a sound. It It is only a moment later when the light of the magic fades that I know that there hasn't been any sound. The measurement readings surprise me. Once again, they show results completely different from what we did in the lab, but they also don't look anything like the readings I got from the first spell Elise cast a moment ago. It's as if the results were strange just for the sake of being strange, irregular, illogical, inconsiderate. Elise continues.
Amplify.
Again, more strange results. Different from results in the lab, different from the previous 2 sets of readings.
Amplify!
When we're done with today's experiment, the piano still mute, the sun has already turned red in the west.
Why won't you sing?
Elise is slumped at the piano, attempting, awkwardly, to give it a hug. We did get some data. I may be able to learn something from it. To be honest, I don't know how much I'll be able to learn from the data. At a glance, it looks like gibberish to me. But I need to keep Elise's spirit up, or we may never be able to unearth the underlying pattern. My assurance seems to be working. Elise gets up from the piano and faces me with renewed vigor in her glittering eyes.
Really? Will I be able to revive the piano after you've studied the data?
I'll do my best.
Will I be able to revive the piano after you've done your best to study the data?
I don't know. Hopefully you will.
Piano.
While Elise is still whimpering like a small animal, we hear footsteps from the grassy path that leads to the backyard.
Elise?
Elise and I turn to the direction of the voice and find a girl around my age, looking as tired as her dirt and dust-covered, sweaty factory uniform.
Jude!
Elise, I heard you resigned from the factory yesterday. What happened? Why didn't you come and see me? What are you doing here?
Jude, I'm sorry. I wanted to see you yesterday, but... anyway, I'm fine. I'm now working as a research assistant for Franz.
Research? Assistant? Franz?
The girl's gaze is fixed on me. She observes me with suspicion clearly written on her face. Hi, I'm Franz Byron, a student at Conservatoire des Overtures.
What do you want from Elise?
Her accusatory tone contrasts with the anxiety in her gait as she slowly puts herself between me and Elise, like a scared doe who forces herself to be courageous in order to shield her fawns from a lion.
Jude, it's okay. Franz isn't a bad guy. He's helping me repair the piano.
The piano? This thing?
The girl meekly points a finger at the broken piano.
Yeah, Franz is researching a way to repair it with compassion magic, so we're helping each other.
Elise, you can't fix a piano with magic.
Yes, we can. We're already making progress, I think.
Elise.
She glances at me, unsure of what to say, before continuing to speak with Elise.
Elise, we're proles. We don't mix with the bourgeois. You can't be a bourgeoise.
But I don't consider myself a bourgeois.
That's right, because you're just a factory worker. Come back to reality, Elise. There is no happy ending in this, you know.
Why not? I'll make my own happy ending if I have to.
Elise's determination stands in stark contrast with the other girl's obvious concern.
No, Elise.
The girl smiles, but her smile looks sorrowful.
Happy endings are a luxury. And the thing about us proles is, we can't afford luxuries. Take care.
She stares at me again with a mixture of anxiety, suspicion, and confusion before turning away and running back along the path.
I'm sorry, Jude.
The girl Elise calls Jude has already disappeared from our view, but Elise is still staring into the emptiness left by the girl. You're a friend?
My best friend. Jude was the one who talked her boss into letting me work at the factory, even though at the time I was only 11.
It's Magical Mechanical's policy not to employ children under 13.
At 13 years old, Jude had only just started working at the factory herself. The boss said that if I couldn't perform at work, he would not only fire me, but also Jude. But Jude was willing to take that risk, because she had faith in me. I don't know what would have happened to her if she had been fired from the factory. Her parents had passed away, and she was living alone. I did make a lot of mistakes in the beginning, though. So Jude always had to clean up my mess, and ended up working much harder than she should have. She was only 13, Franz.
The red of the sun is reflected in Elise's droopy eyes. Why did you have to work at 11 years old?
Because if I hadn't, Madame Beauvoir would have made me pay for my living expenses by working at her brothel.
Her life must have been difficult. I've always felt that Elise's magic is really strong for a girl her age. But now I know it's because this girl has been using her magic to earn a living since she was 11. Magic is her only means of survival. Magic is the only thing she could depend on to save herself.
Hey, Franz?
What is it?
Could you take Jude as your assistant too?
Elise pleads to me with sorrow in her face. The usually bright smile, nowhere to be seen. Take Jude as my assistant. I don't need another assistant, that's for sure. Jude wouldn't be any help for my research, even if I hired her. But I could probably make some things up, just so she could be a research assistant on paper. Even Elise isn't actually an assistant, that's just what I call her. So yes, I might be able to help Jude if I really wanted to, provided that we got Professor Poe's approval. There is a small chance that I could help Elise's best friend, which would no doubt make Elise happy too. But I'm sorry, Elise. My research project is not a charity. Is she gifted in compassion?
No. Jude's traits are courage and faith.
Then she can't be my research assistant. Sorry. Disappointed, but hardly surprised, Elise forces a weak smile.
That is too bad, but I understand. Thanks for thinking about it, Franz.
Sorry. I wish I could help your friend.
That's okay. You've already done so much for me. I'm glad I met you and Aretha.
Elise's face is starting to brighten up, just as the orange sky fades to an ever-deepening blue. It's almost sundown. Shall we go? I still have to deliver this budget plan to Lord Godwin.
Yeah, let's go.
We exit the factory, walk to a street in the city area, hail a taxi carriage, and head to Lord Godwin's house. I hope Frederick won't be there. I don't know what I should say to him. It's already dark when we arrive at Lord Godwin's house. Just like last time, the butler shows us to a room where we're to wait for Lord Godwin. Elise seems uncomfortable when she looks at the piano, but she doesn't say anything. Before long, Lord Godwin enters the room. He eyes me with the same disinterested look he gave when I was here with Professor Poe, then shifts his gaze to Elise without changing his expression, then to me again. Good evening, my lord. Professor Poe wanted me to give this to you. He quietly takes the budget plan from my hand and briefly studies it, his eyeballs making small movements until they reach the bottom of the paper where the professor has signed the document. He asks tonelessly,
"Anything else?"
"No, my lord." He turns his back on us and steps off to the door from which he entered earlier.
My lord?
Hearing Elise's voice, Lord Godwin halts his steps. Without moving his body, he turns his head to regard Elise with one eye, but says nothing.
My lord, is Frederick not here?
Finally, he turns his body and faces us.
No. Do you have knowledge of his whereabouts?
No. No, my lord. Should we?
I was told he went to the conservatoire yesterday. Did you see him there?
No, because yesterday we were doing experiments at the... Huh? You haven't seen him since yesterday?
No, I have not.
What? Frederick didn't come home yesterday. But it was already getting late when he left us at the factory.
Franz, could Frederick have gotten lost in the Proles district?
I wouldn't bet against the possibility. Lord Godwin's right eyebrow's raised very slightly. This is his first noticeable facial expression since entering the room.
The Pearls District? Why was he there?
We were at the factory conducting research. He came to observe us.
I see.
The Lord leaves without another word.
Franz, what do you think happened?
I don't know.
What should we do?
Let's just leave it to the police. It's not like we can do anything.
But...
Elise hesitates for a moment, but soon finds her resolve.
I'll go look for him.
What? You don't even know where to look.
He's probably still somewhere near the factory. Please let Aretha know that I won't be home until late.
Elise quickly sets off to look for Frederick. Hey, wait! The girl stops and looks at me questioningly. I don't know if we'll be able to find Frederick, but what I do know is that I can't let Elise go by herself. Although she knows the Pearl streets well, she may still run into trouble. I'll go with you.
Great! Let's go!
He's done for. Little rascal picked a fight with Libertons. There's no chance he made it out of there.
With Libertons.
Levitation won't work here. Someone would feel the magical aura. Instead, I tell Elise to look out for guards and pull myself up to the vent and peek inside.
Franz, what do you see inside?
I would have him released were it up to me. Blindfold him and let him go far away from here so he can't lead the police back here.
The proletariat has been enduring injustice for too long. If now is not the time to bring the capitalists to their knees, when is? And finally, we've been handed a bargaining chip.
Let's do Project